Nobody dies wishing they had been more careful. I have sat beside more than 1,000 people in their last hours, and not one of them, at the very end, was glad they played it safe. I am 82 years old. I was a country doctor for 50 years, the only doctor for a small town, and I held the hand of the farmer and the schoolteacher and the man who built half the barns in this county while the breathing went quiet. Almost every one of them said the same thing to me near the end, the same regret, in different words. And I think you already carry the start of it. Stay with me. Let me take you straight into one of those rooms, because this is where I first really heard it. And I want you in there with me before I tell you the word for it. A Tuesday in November, raining the slow kind that does not stop. Her name was Nadine, 79, a bookkeeper at the grain elevator most of her life. Sharp woman, the kind who corrected your grammar while you were taking her blood pressure. I will tell you, the last clear thing she ever scolded me for was saying less than when I meant fewer, lying right there in that bed. And she was right, and we both started laughing, and for a minute it was just two old friends being ridiculous. I still hear her say it. Out where I practiced, people like Nadine did not die under fluorescent lights with strangers. They died at home, in their own bed, the dog on the floor refusing to leave. And they asked for me, not for medicine, just to sit. So I sat down next to her, and the kitchen still smelled like the coffee nobody was drinking, and she took my hand. She had never once done that in 30 years of being my patient. And she said, "George, I was so careful. I was careful my whole life." I did not understand at first. I thought she meant about her health, but she kept going. She said she had wanted to drive out to the coast and see the ocean, just once. She had a tin in the cupboard with money saved for it since she was 40. And every single year there was a reason not to go. The roof needed doing. Her sister might need her. The car was getting old. It was never the right time. And now she was lying in that bed, and the tin was still in the cupboard, full, and she was never going to see the water. She did not cry about dying. She cried about the tin. That was the first time I really heard it, but it was not the last. There was a man named Walter. Big hands, quiet, ran cattle out on the East Road. His wife had passed 8 years before him. Walter was the strongest man I knew, and I do not mean his arms. I mean, he never complained about a single thing in 40 years. The night he was going, he asked me to come close. And this enormous, silent man whispered to me that he never told his son he was proud of him. Not once. He said the words got stuck somewhere in his chest, and he kept thinking there would be a better moment, a graduation, a wedding, someday when it would land right. And the boy was 44 years old now and still did not know. His son was standing right there in the doorway. So I did something a doctor is probably not supposed to do. I leaned down and I said, "Walter, he is here. He is right here. Tell him now." And he did. It took him a long time to get it out, but he did. That family will have that for the rest of their lives. The ones who do not get that, they carry the other thing. I will tell you about one more before I get to it, because this one I think about most. There was a young woman, far too young for me to be in that room with her in that way, 31. Her name was Carol, and she had 2 little boys, 4 and 6, and a sickness that came fast and did not negotiate. I will not pretend I had any wisdom for her. I did not. I just had a chair and I sat in it. The thing she said to me near the end was not about herself at all. She held my sleeve and she made me promise to tell her boys, when they were men, that she did not waste her 31 years being unhappy. She said she had spent her 20s worrying what people thought of her hair, her house, whether she was doing motherhood the right way, whether the women at the school gate approved of her. And she said all of that worry, every ounce of it, turned out to be nothing. Smoke. She said, "George, I gave years to people whose names I cannot even remember now, and I only get to keep the 2 faces down the hall." She was not bitter when she said it. She said it the way you tell someone the weather. Her boys, a kitchen, a few mornings. That was the whole of what she wanted to keep, and she said she had nearly walked past it for years, too busy worrying. I drove home that night, and I sat in the truck in my own driveway for an hour and did not go inside. Now you are waiting for me to tell you the regret, the same one, the thread that ran through almost every bed I sat beside. I will tell you, but I want to be careful because it is not what people think. It was not that they wished they had made more money. I never once heard that. Not a single time in 50 years did a dying person ask me about their bank account. It was not that they wished they had worked harder. If anything, it was the opposite. It was not even, mostly, that they were afraid. Some were, but fear is not what they talked about at the very end. Fear is for the middle of the night, 3 weeks before. At the actual end, most people are strangely calm. The body knows how to do this. It has done it for a very long time. Here is what they actually said, in 100 different ways. They wished they had lived as themselves, not as the person everyone expected them to be. That is the regret. Let me show you what it really looks like, because said plainly like that, it sounds small. It is not small. There was a woman, Lorraine, who spent her whole life going to a church she did not believe in because her husband and her town expected it of her. At the end, she told me she had wanted to be a painter. She had the talent. Her teacher had told her so when she was a girl. And she folded that girl up and put her in a drawer for 60 years, because painters were not what serious women became in her family. She said, "I was somebody else the whole time, George. I wore another woman's life." There was a man who stayed in his father's hardware business for 40 years. He wanted to fix engines. His hands knew engines. But the store had his family name on it, and he could not be the one to let it go. He told me he felt like he had been holding his breath since he was 22. And then, almost in the same breath, he said the store had been a good life, and he did not really regret it. And he closed his eyes, and that was the last long thing he said to me. I have never known what to do with that. I think he meant both halves. People do. It is the same thing wearing different clothes. Nadine and her ocean she was too careful to go see. Walter and the words he was too proud to say. Lorraine and the paintings she never let herself make. The hardware man and the engines. Every one of them spent their life answering to somebody. A parent who was already gone. A town. A picture of who they were supposed to be that they never even chose. And at the end, when all the noise falls away, and it is just you and the ceiling and your own breathing getting slower, the only question left is a simple one. Did I live my life, or did I live the one I was handed? Most people, when they are honest in that last hour, know the answer. and it breaks them a little. I am going to tell you the part nobody likes to hear. You think you have time to fix this. You think there will be a season for it later, when the kids are grown, when the money is steady, when it is safe. I watched 1,000 people wait for that season. It does not come the way you imagine. It just arrives one ordinary Tuesday in November, in the rain, and the tin is still full in the cupboard. So here is what I want you to take from an old man who has sat in those chairs. The regret is not about big dramatic things. None of them wished they had climbed a mountain. They wished they had said the true sentence to the person in front of them. They wished they had spent their one allotment of years being the actual person they were, instead of the polite costume of that person. Call the sun. Make the painting, even a bad one. Drive to the ocean while your legs still carry you. Tell the truth about who you are to the people who think they already know. Because I promise you, from the side of more beds than I can count, the people who did those things died differently. There was a softness in the room. There was a kind of finished feeling. And the ones who did not, they reached for my hand at the very end and tried to fix 60 years in 60 seconds. And there is not enough time for that. There never is. I have one more thing to say, and then I will let you go. I have given this speech more or less to my own reflection. I was careful, too. I told myself I served this county, and that was enough of a reason to never do the things I quietly wanted. Maybe it was enough. Maybe it was just another costume. I am 82. I am still working that one out, honestly. That is the truth, and I am too old to lie to you. If this reached something in you, do me a kindness. Hit the like button, not for me, but so this finds one more person who has a tin in the cupboard and keeps finding reasons. That is the only reason I am sitting here talking to a camera at my age. And then tell me down in the comments, what is your tin? What is the thing you keep saving for the right season that never seems to come? Say it out loud, even just to strangers. Nadine never got to. You still can. Subscribe if you want me to keep telling you what I learned in those chairs. I have a great many rooms left to walk you through, and not a great many years left to do it. I will see you in the next one. Take care of your people, and go get the tin down from the cupboard.